Carnival just rolled out another change resulting in higher prices for cruisers. A cruise port war is reshaping Florida, and the Anna Kepner case just took another disturbing new twist. Hi, I'm Melissa, a university professor who loves to cruise and who loves to talk ship. Now let's start with a major shift in the cruise world. For the first time since 2022, Port Canaveral has officially become the world's busiest cruise port. The port recorded 8.6 million passenger movements this year, narrowly edging out Port Miami's 8.56 million. So that is a 13% jump in ship calls year over year. Now, you might be thinking, well, who cares which port wins the trophy? But here's why this matters to you. What's driving this growth is a massive influx of capacity. Icon of the Seas home porting there certainly didn't hurt, and Royal Caribbean's newest ships, plus Princess Cruises significantly expanding their presence, is what pushed Canaveral over the top. Now, here is the practical reality. If you're cruising out of Florida, which is where I most often cruise out of, Port Canaveral just got even busier. So the infrastructure is being tested. So if you usually drive in on the morning of your cruise, or even worse, you take a risk and fly in the same day as your cruise, don't do that. You might need to rethink your strategy, both with getting to the port, how long it's going to take, and how long it's going to take to park, and where you will park. The garages are filling up faster than ever, and off-site parking shuttles are running at capacity. So if you are flying into Orlando, which is MCO Airport, but there are some other smaller regional ones not far from there, remember that Port Canaveral shuttle is often a 45 or more minute drive to the coast, and it's going to be heavier traffic than probably what you're used to. So with this kind of volume, the margins for error get slimmer. So arriving a day early now is not just a suggestion anymore, it's pretty much a necessity. And by the way, if you are taking a cruise out of bustling Port Canaveral, I have an outstanding private driver. They offer a discounted price just for my friends. It's like $199 round trip, which is unheard of in this area. If you want information, I'll drop the link below. Now let's talk about the kind of cruise update nobody asked for. Yep, more nickel and diming. We've seen costs rising across the industry. It's a year-over-year issue, and now it's starting to feel like a month-over-month issue. And in this case, it's Carnival again. Now, Carnival's daily gratuities are sitting at around $16 per person per day for standard staterooms and $18 for suites. So if you're a family of 4 on a 7-night cruise, you're looking at an extra $448 in automatic gratuities just for a standard room. And that's before you spend a dime on board. And while that daily gratuities rate has not changed since April of 2023, Carnival did just recently quietly raise the automatic service charge on your onboard purchases. So now that 18% gratuity that used to be added to your bar tab, specialty dining, stuff that you buy like decorations for birthdays for your stateroom, that's now 20%. Now, that extra 2% might sound small, and of course, I always see what cruisers are chattering about on social media, and a lot of people are like, oh, it's 2%, it's no big deal. If you can't afford it, just don't cruise. But it's just another way the value proposition is shifting in cruise world. But it doesn't stop there. As I reported last week, Carnival also quietly doubled the wait time on their drink package. It used to be 5 minutes between orders, and now it is 10. And this applies to pretty much everything. Alcohol drinks, specialty coffee, energy drinks. You want a beer and a soda to take back to your stateroom? Well, that's 2 separate trips to the bar, 10 minutes apart. Now, again, just like this 2% increase, with that, a lot of people just shrug it off, saying, okay, it's actually a good thing. It keeps people from overindulging in the drink package. It keeps people from sharing the drink package, which is a rampant problem. But others are genuinely frustrated, especially when it comes to the non-alcoholic drinks. And for many of us, this just raises more alarm bells about the continued slide in nickel and diming when it comes to cruise charges. And as I like to say, it's the boiled frog principle. You throw a frog in a pot of water, even at room temperature, it might not jump out, right? But you turn up that heat slowly and gradually, and that frog still doesn't jump out because the gradual increase is so imperceptible that by the time that water is boiling and that frog is literally and figuratively cooked, it's too late for it to jump out. So when you zoom out and add the cumulative impact of all of these changes, all of these increases, even though they might seem nominal at the face of them individually, that does add up to a big difference. And the other thing that I've really noticed is it seems like cruise lines used to be more official in announcing these things. We would see John Heald, for example, who's Carnival's brand ambassador, go on Facebook. God bless this man, he deals with so much and so much hate. I always say Carnival does not pay this guy enough, but he always gets the heat from cruisers. He has typically announced these things. But what it seems like they're doing, especially Carnival in this case, is they're kind of like sneaking it in there, and it takes eagle-eyed cruisers noticing these changes or seeing it in the fine print or taking a cruise and being like, hey, wasn't this just 18% last week and now it's 20%? And then raising the alarm on social media to even get cruisers' attention. And by the way, loyal to Royal people, I strongly suspect that Royal Caribbean is testing doing something similar, because when I was on Radiance of the Seas last month, I noticed that they actually had started charging 20% for gratuity. And when I questioned it, made a post about it on social media, magically it went back to 18%. And yes, I have the receipts to prove that I really was charged 20%. But they did later reverse that and said, oh, it was just a mistake. I think what they're doing is quietly testing it on certain ships. But I could be wrong. We'll just have to wait and see. And speaking of Royal Caribbean, here's a little bit of good news. Royal Caribbean is officially returning to Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa, I still hate that name, tore through the island in late October as the strongest storm to ever hit the country. Cruise ships had to skip Jamaica entirely, of course, while the island rebuilt. And the damage was very serious. St. Elizabeth Parish, known as the breadbasket of Jamaica for its farming industry, was hit incredibly hard. But Jamaica's tourism minister set an ambitious goal with a target date for full tourism operations to be back by December 15th. And it looks like they're gonna hit it, so that's great news. Ships are already making relief stops there, delivering supplies, water, and medical equipment still. And Royal Caribbean, kudos to them, and other cruise lines, I know Carnival did this too, pledging over $1 million in aid. And now they're ready to bring passengers back. So if you've got a cruise booked with a Jamaica stop in mid-December or later, including me, I'll be there first of the year, there's a good chance you'll actually get to go. Now, this is a testament to how resilient these island communities are. So if you visit Falmouth or Ocho Rios soon, I've been to Falmouth, love that port. I'll be visiting Ocho Rios for the first time in a few weeks. Please get off the ship. Even if there aren't the typical things to do, even if there's still things in disarray, buy a coffee, take a tour, tip your guide, help support the local community through your tourism dollars, and that will help impact the recovery. Now let's talk about something that's been developing for weeks. And I've been reporting on this because every week it seems like there's some new bombshell drop in this case, and cruisers can't stop talking about it. And of course, I'm talking about the Ana Kepner case. Now, if you haven't been following this case, Ana Kepner was an 18-year-old from Florida who died aboard the Carnival Horizon on November 7th. She was on a family vacation with her father, her stepmother, grandparents, and several siblings. Now, her cause of death has recently been officially ruled as mechanical asphyxiation, and the manner was ruled a homicide. The FBI is investigating, and while no one has been publicly charged, court documents in a separate custody case revealed that Anna's 16-year-old stepbrother, who was on the ship and who was sharing a cabin with her, is being investigated in connection with her death. But here's where it gets even messier, because we knew the prime suspect for a while. But what's new is that the stepbrother's biological father has now filed for custody, arguing that his ex-wife's parenting, we're talking about Anna's stepmother, has put their son's future in jeopardy. Meanwhile, Anna's father, Christopher Kepner, was subpoenaed to testify in that custody hearing. And when the process server showed up to deliver that subpoena, although his car was running in the driveway, lights were on in the house, nobody answered the door. So the subpoena was left behind on his windshield, and when the process server came back later, the car was gone, and so was the subpoena. Now, this case is obviously a huge tragedy. We're talking of the loss of a life of a promising young girl, but it is also a legal and true crime labyrinth unfolding in real time. The FBI hasn't charged anyone yet, likely because crimes on the high sea involving juveniles especially are incredibly complex to prosecute, and the fact that we have a teenager under investigation makes it additionally complex, and now we have family members in court fighting over custody. This story is far from over, and it is a grim reminder that while cruise ships feel like safe bubbles, real-world tragedies can and do happen, so always be vigilant. All right, let's take a breath and talk about something a little more fun. Virgin Voyages, and fun fact, I'm flying out for my next cruise on Virgin Voyages, so by the time you watch this video, I will be on board Scarlet Lady. But Virgin Voyages just launched a 30-day Alaska season pass for 2026, and it is delightfully extra. For the low value price of $26,000, yes, $26,000, 2 passengers can sail aboard the Brilliant Lady for an entire month. That covers 4 back-to-back sailings between May and September. Now that price tag might make you choke on your coffee, but let's break down the cruise math. That works out to about $866 per day for a couple. And when you consider that this is an all-inclusive product in Alaska where everything is notoriously expensive, it's actually, okay, I'm not gonna say it's good, but it's not terrible. And by the way, I do cruise free on casino offers, so I can't imagine paying $26,000 even for a month of cruising. I cruise free. Of course, there's a lot more to that story, but if you're curious about casino cruising and how to get free or reduced cruises, I do have a guide. I'll drop that information down below. Now, with this season pass, it does include everything you expect from Virgin. Daily drink credit, shore excursions, thermal spa passes, and upgraded work from sea Wi-Fi, which is crucial if you're like me and you're a digital nomad and you have to work your way through the glaciers. But they do with this also throw in a gear package, which is pretty cool, which includes a Canon camera, binoculars, portable charger, backpack, and other fun stuff like a limited edition Helly Hansen jacket. Because apparently if you're dropping that much coin on a month in Alaska, Alaska, you deserve some serious swag. Now, is this a mass market product? Absolutely not. Is Virgin Voyages the pro when it comes to gimmick marketing? They are, but it is a fascinating peek into how cruise lines are experimenting and being playful with longer, more immersive experiences. And let's be honest, 30 days in Alaska with no kids around, because Virgin is the only mainstream cruise line that is adults only, that sounds pretty awesome. Pretty nice way to spend the summer if you've got that kind of money. So I want to know if this sounds appealing to you. Is the price tag too much? Would you even do 30 days on a ship? I love to cruise, but I don't think I could do it. And also, speaking of Virgin Voyages, I am really excited about this one. They also recently expanded their loyalty status match program to include about 50 million travelers. So if you've got top tier status with Delta, Marriott, Hilton, even Royal Caribbean or other competing cruise lines, even Carnival, if you're VIFP people who are big mad about their changes, that's me. Virgin will give you instant status. They're calling it Deep Blue Extras. There's no points to earn, no waiting period. You just show proof of your status and you get perks. And this includes things like expedited boarding, premium Wi-Fi, dedicated sailor services line, and my personal favorite is a coffee fanatic, a daily $10 coffee credit. So if you've been loyal to one brand, Carnival, for years, and you are curious about trying another alternative like Virgin, this is your opportunity to start with benefits on day one. Now, they previously did a status match. It was supposed to expire on October 31st, so I'm excited that they're extending it. And MSC is one other cruise line that does do status matching as well. So Google it. You can find the links and forms online. You fill it out. It's usually pretty easy. Now let's wrap with some quick but practical news you need to know, especially if you're setting sail in the next few weeks. First, Norwegian Cruise Line just canceled cruises on 3 specific ships, Norwegian Dawn, Star, and Jewel, between November 2025 and April 2026. Now, they're calling it an itinerary refresh, which I think is an interesting way to say it, meant to accommodate strong guest demand, which I think is cruise code for, hey, we found a more profitable place to put these ships. So if you're booked on one of these ships during that window, make sure you check your email immediately, because you might be getting rebooked or refunded, or you have some type of communication. And fun fact, I actually had my first Norwegian cruise booked that was supposed to be on it about a month ago, and they ended up canceling one of only 2 ports of call. So I actually canceled the cruise because it wasn't worth it for me to go through the whole process of cruising for just 1 port of call. Another change, if you're cruising out of Galveston between December 5th and 25th, do not skip this warning. Major road work on I-45 is going to impact access to the cruise terminals during the busiest travel season of the year. And we're talking lane closures, potential gridlock. So leave extra time, arrive early, do not cut it close. I talked earlier about that kind of hideous drive between Orlando and Port Canaveral. It's even worse when it comes from getting to Houston to Port of Galveston. Don't cut it close, just add in extra time. And finally, Philadelphia is officially joining the cruise chat. Construction has started. This is so exciting. I love new home ports, especially ones that are conceivably drivable for me. I live in the Midwest, and Philadelphia is just that. And I recently cruised out of Norfolk, Virginia, which is drivable for me, about 10 hours, and it was a wonderful experience. I love Norfolk Cruise Port. And also, if you're cruising out of Norfolk, I do have a port guide. I'll drop the link below. But anyway, back to Philly. Construction has started on a major new cruise terminal near the airport, set to welcome Norwegian Cruise Line starting in April of 2026. So this is huge for that mid-Atlantic region. So if you live in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or Delaware, you currently have to drive to places like New York or Baltimore to catch a ship. But starting in 2026, you now have a home port in your backyard. So jealous. Norwegian will be the exclusive operator there initially, which means that the Norwegian Jewel will likely be the ship that you'll see sailing down the Delaware River. So Philly has joined the cruise map, and that, my friends, is how fast this cruise world keeps changing.